Hello everyone and welcome to GW2 NAGVG episode 2. My name is KTS or Kyle the Savage. I'm here with Driggin again, and today we've got an Elementalist, a staff Elementalist that we'll be watching from TDS, the Desert Squad, which I believe is on Crystal Desert server. So not a tier 2 server matchup this time, just a little bit of a lower tier. I think they're in tier 4 and then sometimes swap between kind of 3 all the way down to 5, kind of bounce around between that area. These guys have been around for a little while. You might have seen their video on the videos on the website. They've been posting to the World vs. World site for a little while. We're watching a staff LE. It's a 15v15 versus a guild called HART. And yeah, we'll get into it right now. I also wanted to just apologize for how long it took to get the second episode out, but we'll work on that. Thanks, guys. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. We're watching this LE gameplay from TDS. We're ripping this right from their video, so they've got their little intro here with some shit talking at the beginning, which is pretty funny. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to talk about what the LE's job is in the engage, and I'm actually going to pause the video right now. One of the LE's jobs is to create a offensive and be aggressive at the start of the round and try and get, you know, your fellow teammates there that are to the left of him right now a good engage and give him an upper hand in the fight. So what our LE here does, and I need to catch the name of this LE, I'll have it by the end of the video. And what he does is you'll notice that he kind of runs up real quick and drops a static field on my poorly drawn circle there, and you'll see that his entire group comes in right here on the left, and they actually start the round really strongly because of that. And I'm going to hit play right now, and you'll see that because of his static field, which caused about half of their group to get stuck right there, they come in on the left and they get a great engage off the start, and that kind of carries them into the round. Driggin's here with me. What's going on, man?
Hey guys, how you doing? How you doing, Kyle? Alright, so the build that this Elementalist is running, it's a little bit interesting because it's not quite the normal meta as far as he does not have Evasive Arcana. Instead, this Elementalist is running a Lightning Rod variation of an Elementalist. So he's getting a lot of damage anytime that he disables or interrupts any of the enemies. And you saw that on the opening engage where Static was getting some 1k proc, I think he almost had a 2k proc on the Lightning Rod just from critting, just right out of the gate. So the Lightning Rod build establishes a lot of damage that the typical Elementalist doesn't quite have. Now, on the other side of things, though, because he's taking more damage, he doesn't have the same amount of survivability.
And we're going to watch the same thing again here. This is actually the same round happening. I think that this got a little bit kind of recorded twice on their video, so it'll still be nice to see that engage again.
So yeah, going back, you saw that right there with that first static. He got about a 2k proc just right out of the gate. And so he's continuing on. He's getting some pretty good damage, you know, sickening water. He's tabbing through. That's one of the things that I really liked on this round particularly. He tabs through and tries to find those low targets. And ever since the Meteor NATO nerf, the Elementalist doesn't really have a lot of options as far as elites go. So you see him pop Avatar of Melandru right there, and just getting some pretty good damage. And at this point, because of the damage that their entire guild was able to get because of his initial static, this round is very much in favor of TDS.
Yeah, and you'll notice that right now he's doing a good job of positioning himself kind of behind his frontline empowering and behind his frontline as they do their job. And right here he's going to get kind of pulled out. He needed to blink back, but he was trying to get a really aggressive static out there in that round, and they basically saw him and picked him off, and now he's kind of in trouble. And this round doesn't go super well for him, unfortunately, but he was trying to be you have to have a balance of being really aggressive there on the engage, but still being able to kind of get out and get yourself back to safety and not risk your own life because of it. But what I was going to say there was he does a good job positioning himself, or rather positioning his front line between him and the enemy players, and by doing that he's able to kind of stay a little bit safer. And see how he's playing kind of close to the front line there? That's great. If he was, my opinion is, if he's playing 20v20, that becomes much less viable because the firepower from ranged and from gank becomes much stronger, so it's harder to stick near the front line without getting, you know, your ass kicked.
Yeah, a little bit questionable positioning right here, and he has to use his lightning flash because he gets pinned up against the wall. But he still, after that lightning flash, recovers, puts himself in a position where he can put a meteor between himself and the enemy melee, as well as get some pretty good damage, at least put some AoEs out there to kind of harass the enemy melee. We did see it just a couple minutes ago, where after he was down, the one thing Elementalist has to do is communicate to the melee train. And once he was down, it was clear he was communicating to the melee train because they were all right there, ready to hard res him.
Yeah,
And he was up.
he was yelling in comms to them. I'm going down. I'm missing right to you. I'm missing right to you. And if you do that and you have 3 or 4 frontline players that are ready to res you, you've got a pretty good chance to live, honestly. Because if you've got three big guys resing you, you get up pretty quickly. It's just a matter of communicating and getting that all timed up right. And that was a good time to do it. And you see later on, he's proving his worth by doing lots of damage here. And I believe they end up winning this round.
Yeah, and as far as Elementalists go, he really does do a really good job of getting his 2 hits out there. Like, that's one thing you want to see with every Elementalist. If you're a young Elementalist out there and maybe just starting picking up the class, the one thing that you have to do across every attunement is you want to be spamming your number 2 skill, because it's so much damage that you can get across the board, whether it's your Ice Spike or your Lightning Surge or Eruption, Lava Fonts, whatever. They all do really good damage, and that's where a majority of his damage is coming from, just by getting those 2 skills off.
Yeah, and you'll notice this is just going back to a little bit more general information, but the 3 cantrips that he's running, which is the 3 utilities that he's running rather, are all kind of escapes. That's the way that I think of them. If the train decides to focus you, you can blink, you can miss, you can armor of earth, you can figure out a way to get out of it, right as he does right there, and Ellie defensively is all about managing those 3 skills. If you can have 2 out of 3 or even 1 out of 3 of those skills off cooldown, you can pretty much manage to stay alive the entire time. But if you put yourself in a position where you need to mist form, then blink, then pop armor of earth all just to get away, the next engage you're going to have a hard time surviving if they can pick you out, and good guilds will.
Yeah, definitely.
So he's going to get the static right there on their empower, and they got a veil, though, it looks like, and it wasn't the kind of the same engage as it was the first time, but he still did get the static field on them and slowed them down. But you see, he had to pop armor of earth and now blink to get out of that damage there now.
Yeah, and I think this round is one where we're going to end up seeing this skill bar kind of gradually disappear. I'm not sure what the recorder was doing when that happened, but he does end up going down.
I didn't even notice that yet. It's getting bigger and bigger. What's going on?
I'm not sure what happens to it. But like always, like in all the rounds, he's still landing his 2 hits, getting some pretty good damage out there. And now, since we can't really see exactly what he's doing, I'll go back, talk a little bit more about the build. The exact traits that he's running is 0, 6, 0, 4, 4. So he doesn't have, like I said, he's not 6 into the arcane magic, or whatever the last line is on Elementalist. So he's only getting 10-second cooldowns on his attunement swapping. Not a real big difference, but you can definitely get a feel for, you definitely notice the 1-second difference if you're used to playing with that full Arcana line. And the other thing that he's running that's a little bit different, I definitely would not be running it. I assume he's running it to get his health up, but he's running 4 into water magic. And he's taking Cleansing Wave rather than taking Evasive Arcana. And if he took Evasive Arcana, when he switched to Water Attunement, he could get the dodge and get the Cleansing Wave that way. But instead, he's doing it on his swap to Water. And it's probably just his preference thing. Maybe he would switch it up if he thought a little bit more about it. But that is what he is running. So we'll kind of see this round finish from the down state. But I mean, he got enough hits on people that he.
Yeah. The thing with this gameplay is the player we're watching is doing tons of damage. They really are. They're doing lots of damage. Their positioning, though, is very. I think he's getting away with a lot because it's 15s that he wouldn't be getting away with in 20s. Definitely. He's sticking, in my opinion, a little bit too close to the commander. You do want to position the front line between you and the enemy group, but I think that the distance between you and your friendly group should be a little bit greater than it is here in this video, just because if they push, or like if the enemy train is a very mobile train where they can leap and come and get you, then you're going to take a lot of damage just off that engage. Forget about if they decide to pick you out and chase you.
Yeah, and I guess we can talk about
That's a really
learning
good static
moments.
field there, though. He caught the back of the train. Oh, they got portal bombed. Wow. Okay.
Well, that's interesting. You don't see
Yeah,
that very
pro
many.
tactics right there. I was wondering why I was gonna blame his commander right there actually for not pushing into on that static field, because he caught the back line right there with the static field. I thought it was a really good job, but they took a portal and had to turn around because they knew that it was coming once they saw it drop. See right here how he's kind of standing in front of the commanders in power. You should never really be doing that, because that's just creating a target for yourself. And that's why he's taking as much damage as he is. I know it's hard because he's getting kind of pushed back into the corner, but try and stay a little bit more toward the middle of the field, more towards ranged, the other guys that are ranged players. But overall, he's doing a pretty good job, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and the thing about this is that's a very good lava font right there on the downstate. If you're an
Yeah,
elementalist, take note.
definitely.
Want to be putting those lava fonts on the downstates whenever possible. Like any extra AoE that you can put after the tick when you don't have to be there, it's good stuff, and it helps secure the downs.
Something that I've noticed is that this group, I'm not sure if they're just running a lot of heavy frontline players, but very seldom are they dropping water fields and regrouping completely separate. Or maybe it's just not his rotation. Maybe his job is to do more damage than it is to supply the water fields. But I've noticed that his water fields has always been engage and mid fight, on the go kind of things. Not okay, we're regrouping, 3, 2, 1, drop the water on me. You guys all know what I'm talking about. It doesn't seem like he's the Ellie that's doing that, which is interesting.
Yeah, we might see it later on in the rounds, and it'll definitely be interesting to keep track of. But up to this point, I don't think he's even gotten a single small water down on a regroup. But like you said, it could just be it's not his job. But even then,
Yeah, exactly.
As an elementalist, you still got a water field, so might as well put that on a commander if you got it.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job dropping the big water fields into the engages, and you'll see that he's getting a lot of healing bolts, a lot of AoE healings from that, because those guys are all using blast finishers and whirl finishers while in that big water field. But he's really doesn't seem to be the Ellie that's dropping the water fields on the regroup. Seems to be maybe someone else's job.
Seems like up to this point, they're really getting this TDS guild as a whole is getting a lot of the enemy just caught in their AoEs. There's a
Oh
lot
my
of people
goodness!
down.
Is
Like
this on
there's
April Fool's with the bobblehead day? It looks like
I don't think so. It might have been. If that's the case, then it's almost a year old.
See those guys right there?
Yeah.
With the Super Saiyan hair, they're
fun.
huge. That's hilarious.
Maybe there was a box of fun around or something.
Yeah, maybe.
I bet they
don't
used
know.
it because we would have noticed that in the earlier rounds.
That's funny.
So
anyway, what I wanted to talk about was really just what the Ellie means from a frontline perspective, and this Ellie right here in this gameplay, all he's been doing is just dropping damage. He's doing a good job of it. His team's winning. They're down states all over the place in this match. I'm sure you've noticed. But from my perspective, what the Ellie's job is really just to drop water fields and to help me keep my health up. And we talked a little bit last episode about the Guardians using either hammer or greatsword, depending on whether you wanted to have that mobile capability or whether you wanted to have that that spike damage with the mighty blows. If let's say, for example, you're running the Guardians with the hammers and the mighty blows, if your Ellie does a good job of dropping big water fields like this one does, all of those mighty blows that you're engaging through are giving AoE heals, and then on top of that, if your warriors are using hammer stun through it, that's a huge health boost for your group, and it basically heals you back to 100% and negates any damage that you got while making your way toward that enemy group before you press the 2 button on hammer. You know what I mean? And that's super helpful. If your group is more using the greatsword meta and trying to move around and be as mobile as possible, then the advantage is you really want to get out, like for regroups like this, where they move away, get the regroup down, and push in.
Finally saw him drop one of those little waters.
Yeah, there it was right there. Yeah, exactly.
We'll see if he does a little more of that. Now, the dynamic right here with this guild is different than what you see with a lot of the top tier GVGs currently, where this LA doesn't really play around his gank and or focus party, as our friends across the pond call it. And the gank doesn't really play across to protect its casters either. So this is a very individualistic play style right here, which is something that you've seen evolve in the upper tiers, where right here it's just this caster worrying about his positioning and
Yeah, and
orbiting the
trying to stay
melee
alive on his own. Yeah.
as an individual. And as a guild, you can recognize that and start to tell your casters to adapt and worry about their collective positioning, making sure that their position is kind of in line with each other. And the best way to solve that is to divide the playing field in half. You have your half, and then there's the enemy half. And as long as your casters, you know which half your casters are on, then you as a melee train, as a gank, as other casters can help each other out and kind of stay alive that way. But the biggest way to you have to make sure that as a caster, you do not go farther vertical towards the enemy's half than what your commander is. And if you do that, then generally you're going to stay in pretty good position, be in a good position to land damage and help each other out as well. Hope that makes sense. I probably
No, that makes sense to me. Basically if you and the other thing that you want to do really is communicate with your gank, with your focus party, before the round, during the round. You know, if you're an elementalist or you're a necro or you're a really any backline class that's trying to do damage, you want to have something set up where if you're in trouble, if you're getting hit by a thief and a mesmer and getting shattered and you're getting blown up, that you have something that you can say to them and that they know you're getting in trouble so they can come over and help you out. Because something that I've noticed by watching this gameplay is I don't think that's something that's happening very often. It looks as if the casters are really playing for their own survivability, which it works. You know, they're doing a good job of it. They're winning the rounds, obviously. But if they had more communication with their gank and their gank was able to come over and support and help them out, and they would be able to do even more damage because they would spend less time running away.
Yeah, and if you want to pause it or go back maybe about 10 seconds if you can. I'm not sure if that's going to mess it all up, but that should be good.
Tell me when to stop.
That should be good. So right here, it's not just TDS's casters that are playing as individuals, it's the other side as well. And both sides, casters are just trying to stay alive. And right here, there's a mesmer right there, Elementalist, who's out of position. But because that mesmer has been moving around, trying to stay alive on his own, trying to put damage on other casters, he doesn't really notice it. But if both sides kind of respected that, casters right next to the element, each other, this Elementalist right here would probably be a dead Elementalist. But because it's not, he lives, and they end up winning this round, getting some pretty good damage off.
Yeah, he really does a good job of getting damage out on the front line. I mean, you can see the numbers that he's getting on the front line when he's pressing Meteor Shower and Lava Font and all that. This is just a situation where they're winning and they're doing a great job, but there's things that they could be doing to just be even more dominant.
Definitely, and kind of touching a little bit more on what you said about the 3 cantrips that they use, because Elementalists have basically 3 outs, along with fire number 4, which is a great evade and a great way to get out of trouble. Like right there, he just got out of trouble. Elementalists can go a lot glassier than what people kind of are used to seeing, because they can stay alive. They have act healing in several different ways, whether it's the 2-minute swapping or dodge rolling or just their 15-second cooldown heal, which has terrific Condi management. Elementalists can afford to really go glassy, and I think that's one of the other reasons that you kind of seen the current meta on the NA side and now a little bit on the EU side with the pirate ships. I mean, you got glassy casters and melee that just want nothing to do with it, because you got casters like this Elementalist putting so much damage out the way he has been through these rounds.
Yeah, something I've noticed also on the initial engage, it seems like he's getting a good static field out there every time, pretty much, on them. But at the same time, then he's getting instantly kind of targeted and having to use at least 1, sometimes 2 of his cantrips before 10 seconds into the round, which really isn't what you want to be doing. You want to have You know, all 3 of those off cooldown at all times, preferably. Obviously, it doesn't really work out that way all the time, but you don't want to use 2 of them in the first 10 seconds, and then you're kind of struggling the rest of the round. If these fights were a little bit more even, that last round where he's got all he has left is Mist Form, and then he uses that 20 seconds after that, you know, he's not gonna survive in that round very long.
I think right there, I'm not completely sure, but that might have been an example where we only saw him starting record this past round.
Yeah.
Right when he's coming out of Mist Form in the down state. And there he goes again. So one thing I would like to see this Elementalist do, if you're another Elementalist and you go out for the lead static, you don't have to stay in 1200 range. As soon as you start that casting motion and you're within range, pull back. And that helps protect you and make sure that you're out of range of the enemy's AoEs.
A lot of good Ellies have a button set for their, I think it's X by default, but I'm not sure. I disabled it myself because I use X for something else. But the turnaround button, what you can do is the moment you start to cast that static field on the engage, you can turn around instantly and just run the opposite direction, and that static will still land exactly where you placed it down. So something that I think that instead of backpedaling or, you know, doing something like that, a much better option.
Again, right there, that's what the kind of the area where you want to just, after he gets that static, wants to start backpedaling or moving away.
Yeah,
so
see, there he goes. He's getting ganked now, and he's used 2 of the cantrips. Now he's using the 3rd, and if he had a little bit more communication with his gank squad, he might be able to get some help there and be able to, you know, not burn all 3 of those before he's able to get away. And he's going to get taken down as a result, because once they see that you've used as an Ellie, I mean, I take note as a warrior even, and I'm not fighting Ellies as often as gank is, but if I notice that an Ellie has used Mist Form, you know, Armor of Earth, and also just blinked, I'm chasing that Ellie the rest of the match until he's dead. You know what I mean? There's just nothing. He's got nothing left. So
yeah, definitely.
And that concludes episode 2. Thanks for watching. I thought this was a pretty cool episode just because Driggin and I thought some of what this Ellie was doing was really good, and some things that he could do that would be, you know, make him even better. And point is I want this gameplay that's being on this channel to be, you know, kind of a little bit of everything. Some high quality tier 2, you know, fights between Ag and IX, like the first match was, and then also some, you know, some fights between some guilds that maybe we've never even heard of. But anyway, keep sending the gameplay, and I'll continue to the episodes. Thanks, guys.